Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Sunday Special. This is going to be episode 22. We're going to have a fun little chat today. Jordan is back with us. Why don't you say hello to the fine folks, sir?
Oh, hello.
Very good. So, yeah, we're going to be talking about a few fun things. We've both been kind of in the world of the Legend of Heroes for the past little bit, so we'll talk about that. Last time we talked, Jordan, it was about Xenoblade Chronicles. So
we talked a lot. Yeah,
we're going to talk some more.
Sounds good to me.
I just beat it last night, so it should be a lot of fresh stuff, and hopefully you may remember a few things.
I remember at least enough about the ending and everything, but I mean, I'll try not to spoil too much for the listeners.
I'll let you do that, so they're angry at you.
Okay. Sounds good.
We'll probably take a little break at some point, and then we're going to talk all about Final Fantasy VII Remake, our thoughts on it, and we may even get to some heavy spoilers at the end. But I kind of think like people have had enough time to plow through that one, don't you?
Yeah, it's been long enough now. Like, what have you been doing if you haven't beaten this game?
If you've been waiting this long for this game, surely you've played it by now. And if not, we'll give the fans a chance to turn off at some point. But unfortunately, we do have a new topic to talk about, as today is June the 25th, and we got some bad news, buddy. I feel like Bandai Namco listened to my podcast, and they're like, "Oh, we haven't talked about Tales of Horizon in a little while."
I mean, they heard you. They definitely heard you.
Well, I wish they hadn't, because the only thing we know is it's been delayed out of 2020. Big bummer. Yeah, boo, no. Are you surprised?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised, especially as as you've talked about it in some of your episodes, and you're like, there's been silence. We haven't heard anything. It just got me more and more worried. So I can't say but I don't know, whenever something like this happens, I try to look at it in a positive light. I've got 30 games in my backlog. So I'm like, okay, it'll give me more time to catch up on my backlog, I guess.
I appreciate your positive spin on that, but I don't like it. This is nothing but no. I mean, that is absolutely how you have to look at this. It's kind of one of those things, like if you're a parent and your kid's not making any noise, it's usually bad news. That's exactly what's going on here. We just heard nothing, and I kind of feel like it was the perfect storm. So obviously we've got the worldwide pandemic going on. That ain't good. It's a franchise that people love, but they're taking it in a new direction. That's going to take extra time. You've got this weird console, break coming up here. So I feel like there's just too many factors against it at this point.
I mean, there's no news about the length of the delay, right? I mean, it's just indefinite.
The only thing they said was delayed past 2020.
Okay.
Which is almost worrying that they didn't just say 2021, right?
Like, what does that mean? 2025 or something? What does that mean?
That means don't wait. When your parents or whatever, you go out late and like, don't wait up for me, because who knows when it's going to come out, right?
I mean, does that mean it is going to be PS5? Like, it's not even going to release on PS4, or you think it'll just be both?
I think it'll be both. I think it's a guarantee that it's both now, but I do see a definite possibility this is shifted towards PlayStation 5 and I guess Xbox Series X as well.
Yeah, I mean, I was really excited, as you were. I mean, I was really excited about this one, and just when they talked about most Tales games, it's like when you're out on the world map or whatever, you're out in the field, it's still kind of linear usually. There aren't a lot of places you can go, or you really can't climb over a cliff or whatever. But I remember hearing that you can actually explore places now in this new one and everything, that you see somewhere far away and you can actually go there. And I was just really looking forward to that kind of different style to see what they do with it.
That would be nice. I mean, Tales has progressed quite a bit from its overworld, to dungeons that you walk into, kind of old school, to, like it's that weird open world, but it's in a confined space.
Yes, yeah.
So but at the same time, I don't know if I wanted it to be truly open world either. We've seen the downfalls of that with stuff like FF15, but I don't know.
That's true.
It's probably a good thing. I mean, we saw 2 characters so far. It's a Tales game. It's got more than 2 characters. That should have been our first clue that this game is nowhere near ready.
I mean, that's pretty much all we got, right?
That's it. I mean, there's been hints of that 3rd character during that one trailer, like you could, because it sees, I've done forgot their names by now. It's been so long since we heard from it. Alvin.
I don't remember.
And the chick, like you can see it through that person's eyes that they see those 2 characters. So obviously that's another person. But yeah, I think we're going to finally see it pop back up at that digital Tokyo Game Show in September. But
I hope so.
I mean, past that, I don't think we're going to see anything else. Like it's coming out this year. Like they kind of have made that mistake. I feel like they're not going to key down anything solid until it's ready to go.
I mean, and it seems like it's a more significant, whatever they're doing has to be more significant than the changes they made, for the Final Fantasy VII Remake delay, because that was like a month, right? So
yeah, I mean that you've seen a solid month and a half, somewhere's in that time frame, whereas this one's just indefinitely. Then the other thing going against it, of course, they want to do a worldwide release with it. Well, that takes a lot of extra time.
Yeah, that definitely takes more time.
I could almost see that changing, like. Maybe that wasn't written in stone and like, okay, we need to get this out for Japan and then we can try to get, all the other versions out.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it doesn't do much for us, I guess, if they release in Japan first. So I don't know if I really care about that.
I don't either. I'm just saying that is obviously what we did with the 99% of our games. So I'm not opposed to that happening still.
That's true, and it would be a good sign at least if it came out over there first. So
they are a Japanese company, so that might be something they look at.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's enough bad news. I don't want to talk about it anymore.
Yeah, me neither.
So what I would love to hear is, my love for Trails of Cold Steel knows no bounds. So you are pretty far into part 1. Did I hear you're at Legram right now?
No, I mean, today, actually, I made some more progress and I finished chapter 5. So I just finished scene that you see in the beginning of the game. Remember, they show you August, whatever, 31st in the beginning. And I've just finished that section with the railway guns.
Oh, okay. So you are now in present time, as they call it, right?
Right. I made it past that. I made it past that whole beginning part, and now I've saved it right in between chapter 5 and 6. That's where I am right now.
You're past Reen screaming at guns being shot off, so that's good.
Is it that way? Yeah, I was like, "What are you doing? That's not going to do anything."
No, you're past the point. I love that intro scene at the very beginning, where it's blonde-haired girl, tall speckled boy.
Yeah. I forgot they didn't tell you their names.
They didn't even tell you their names. I'm like, seriously, we couldn't reveal that? Okay. And it only took you how long, sir? Did you get some sort of achievement for this?
Yeah, I got the Trails and the Couch trophy because I played for over 100 hours. I think I've got 105 now.
And you may be halfway done.
I mean, it's got to be. I figured it has to be more than halfway though, because I've got that book Red Moon Rose that you collect. I'm on chapter 11 of that. I mean, it seems like there's not much more space for that, and there's only space for like 4 more recipes or something, or 5 more recipes. So it can't be that far, right? I don't know.
Yeah, okay, so we'll say 3/4, but still, you get the trophy for people that have beaten the game pretty much, not chapter 5. I'll be honest. I don't think I got that trophy.
I'll be honest with you though. Like, I would probably say 1/4 of that time. Probably the clock kept going when I had to go do something else. Like, one thing I don't like about this Decisive edition on PS4 is that I noticed how you push like the PlayStation button and it goes to the menu, as while you're playing a game.
Right.
And normally it'll stop the clock in any RPG, but it doesn't stop the clock when you go to the menu. So I think that's part of the issue. But still, I mean, even if I'm at 80 hours, it seems like I'm still going slow. So
Well, you are collecting everything. Are you trying to max out like the character profiles and talking to everybody as well?
Yeah, well, I'm trying to do my best. I mean, part of what the issue is, you know how I feel like they really try to get you with those hidden quests, you know?
Oh gosh.
And it's like, you know, once something happens, it's like you have to go back and talk to every single person again, or you might miss it. And like events are constantly happening. So I feel like I'm constantly going through the same town, trying to talk to everybody again and again and again. And, you know, it's kind of time consuming.
It is. That was one of the few things I didn't actually care for, is those hidden quests. And they were just, you would stumble upon them randomly. And unless you used a guide to figure them out, or like you said, talk to every single person, you're not going to see it.
Yeah, and I found out I was so annoyed because I think it was chapter 4. I was expecting to see that big fat S, you know, when they give you the score.
Yes.
Instead, I got an A, and I was like, what? I was like, are you serious? Thought I did everything, and I go back and I look online and I find out you were supposed to know to like backtrack through the sewer again or something. And
yes.
And I was just like, I'm thinking like, how are you possibly supposed to even know that? Like, I don't know.
You don't. It's like, that's just it. There's no way you would know that.
It's like back on the level of like Simon's Quest when you had to kneel and the tornado comes, you know, and takes you away. It's just ridiculous.
That is quite an old reference, but I like that one. You went back to like 89 or something, man.
Yeah, I did. It still bothers me, though. It still bothers me.
That's great. I don't even. You got me completely flustered on that one. That was good. But no, it is such a good game, and I've seen a few people. It's like, I don't understand like the draw of this series, and it's kind of hard to explain to people without getting into it, because the biggest gripe is it's a little slow at the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, I think because I had played. I mean, granted, Sky is slow too. Like Sky has the same kind of feel, I guess, but because I had played that, I guess I already kind of knew that, and I knew that I enjoyed that. I mean, I think it just depends what kind of person you are. You know, you might just want the action, and maybe it's not as for you. But I mean, I really like getting to know all the characters. I love the world building happens, and they really, the way they build it so slowly, I feel like all of a sudden you look around and you're like really deep into it. You know, you really feel like you know all the characters. You even know all the NPCs in the towns and kind of even their personalities. It just really gets you into it, I think, a lot more than a lot of other JRPGs, I think.
Yeah, I've always enjoyed how you can kind of get lost in there, but it's also kind of relaxing. Even like the battle segments aren't that stressful. Oh, yeah. It's just one of the better examples of what a good JRPG would be. Obviously, there's the school stuff that's in there, but it's nothing as heavy as Persona. I mean, not even close.
No, it's not quite like that. I mean, there are you get the similar feel with building in Steel. At least I do so far with the social, building the links. But other than that, it's not as heavy as that was in Persona.
No, it's not that day. Yes, it's a day calendar, but I feel like it's completely different in terms of the effect of it.
Yeah, I think so too. It's not that similar.
No. And you do have to, you have to make choices. You can't go and max out everybody's social links. You can only get like 2 or 3 opportunities on those free days. So,
yeah, that's still always, that always bothers me. I mean, I know they're trying to go back and encourage people to play it again, but it's like, and I don't have that. I just feel like I don't have that kind of time. I feel like I got so many things in the backlog. I'm trying to get to other games. It's like I can't afford to go back and replay the game.
Absolutely. So I am. Obviously I'm a little bit further ahead in Cold Steel, but I do want to go back and play Trails in the Sky. That is my plan here very soon in order to get me ready. And I've heard no shortage of people say, hey, you really do need to play Sky before you play Cold Steel. Are you still agreeing with that, or are you more of, it's okay to play Cold Steel first?
I mean, I can see how you would still enjoy Cold Steel no matter what, but I'm definitely getting a lot out of it. Like, I am very glad I played the Sky trilogy first. I mean, even just the reference to like, Phantom Thief, Phantom Thief B, and then they're referencing characters from Sky, and then I start laughing, because I just remember him and he's hysterical, and just a lot of the references, I feel like giving me an additional kind of layer of joy, I guess, I feel like.
Oh, I can completely agree with that. I mean, that's my first introduction to that character, and he is one of the best, like, bad guys. Like he's just not a very good bad guy. He's kind of likable in a bad sort of way too. But yeah,
he is, yeah.
I definitely had no clue the backstory to him, and I would have gotten a greater appreciation. I think my thing has always just been, unless you have a Vita and can find the Sky games or digitally, and they're on Steam now, of course, as well. But if all you've got's a PlayStation 4, you're going to have to start with Cold Steel. That's just, there are some hindrances with it not being on a current system.
Well, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I have that PlayStation TV, where you can access the PSP and Vita games on the PlayStation Store, and you can download them. And when I started Trails in the Sky, honestly, I know it sounds terrible, but I didn't know what it was. I actually hadn't really heard about the Trail series, and I was like, this looks pretty awesome. And I read some things about it, and that's kind of how I got into it,
Nice.
So, just luck, I guess.
Oh, I stumbled upon Cold Steel. I think it just randomly popped up on Amazon one day that it was that it was coming out. Of course, this was back the original release, back on PS3. But I had no idea what Trails was. Never heard of it before at all. And obviously you see that and you're like, oh, this game looks really good. It looks right up my alley. I want to give it a shot. And now we're talking Cold Steel 4 in just a couple months. It's been a long time.
Yeah, and I've got to figure out how to get there. I mean, I feel like I have a deadline now, so I've got to really get on it to get through these 3 games before then. So
I think you're fine. I mean, you're obviously pretty close to the end of 1, and you've got 4 months until part 4. I think you're still better than you were before with trying to rush in order to play Remake.
Oh my god! I definitely didn't have as much time as I've had recently, so that helps.
Oh yeah. Obviously, it's the summer, so you're out of your normal 9 to 5, so that's good.
Yeah.
So what would you say are like some of the biggest differences between Sky and Cold Steel?
Well, I mean, Sky, first of all, it takes place you hear a lot about Liberal, Liberal, the nation of Liberal, that's south of Erebonia.
Uh-huh.
I mean, so it takes place there. I would say, and it's more focused on the Bracer Guild, you're totally focused on becoming a higher ranking Bracer the whole time, and you're going around, you just receive quests from a board, mostly like a board in the Bracer Guild. Mm-hmm. And I would say another difference is kind of like do you remember the ordnance system pretty well? I mean, is it the same in Steel 3? They continue with that, the ordnance system?
Oh, yeah. It's obviously just built upon it where you have more, but that's about it.
Yeah, well, I mean, in Sky, it's a lot more complicated.
Oh.
Not to deter you, but it's just your quartz. I don't know if this makes sense, but your quartz, they're all worth different amounts of the Sepith,
Yeah.
And then that unlocks various spells depending on the combination of Sepith that you have going. Like, so basically, the quartz amounts, like, they don't add up over your entire orbment. They only add up over each line. So you have to figure out, like, basically by having different amounts of Sepith in each line, you can unlock different spells that are more powerful. The more Sepith that you have, in that line.
I see. Okay, so instead of Sepith just buying the different spells, it actually unlocks them by putting them in there.
Yeah, and each spell has like a different. They have a guide within the game. Like it's kind of annoying because like it's hard to adjust your Sepith at the same time while you're trying to look at the guide. So I actually would just load up that screen that sort of guide on my computer, and then I would look at it to try to make sure I have the right amounts of Sepith to unlock the right spells. So I did feel like I spent a lot more time kind of figuring that out. And menu time, can sometimes not be fun, but I will say it is kind of rewarding when you figure out you unlocked a spell that wasn't listed in the guide. There's a few spells that are like a lot more powerful, and you're like, whoa, I didn't even know that. That's pretty awesome. You unlocked this huge, powerful spell. So that's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. Yeah. I mean, I played, the first Sky for about 2 hours before I got distracted with another. I think that's when Remake actually came out as well. But I definitely got the feeling like the systems are very different, in particular with the Orbit and the Quartz. Yeah.
Because I found myself when I got into Cold Steel, like I was like, okay, I got to figure out how to unlock all these spells. And I was like, wait a minute, these lines hardly even mean anything. What is going on here? And I think I could figure out in Cold Steel that the lines lines only matter in that you can use them to like stack multiple like buffs, you know, kind of like, but that's pretty much what I could figure out from it. And I mean, it did make it a little relaxing in a way. I'm like, okay, now I'm not spending so much time in the menu, but I do miss a little bit being, you know, having the mystery of unlocking some really powerful spells, I guess.
That's funny because I always kind of wonders, like, well, what are these lines even for? They don't really seem to do anything. You know, on typically when you have Normant with 4 lines, it just means you can't have 2 of the same kind.
Right.
The same line. But other than that, you really have the complete freedom to do whatever you want. And it's not going to make any effect.
It's almost like they just decided to bring the same like appearance of the orbments over to Cold Steel, but they're like, we'll just do away with that old system, but we'll kind of leave it looking the same.
We got the Arcus units now, so we don't need that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Reinford Corp.
Yeah, Lisa R. Right? I was confused by that for a while.
Yeah, it's very, very confusing. Yeah, she didn't act prim and proper or anything like that. No, so you're finally getting to learn some of these characters that I have a completely different opinion of because they do change quite a bit over the 3 games.
Okay.
Who are the ones that stick out as good, and who are the ones that are kind of like I could live without?
What about in Cold Steel?
Yeah, Cold Steel.
Yeah. Yeah. Reen, like, I will say I don't like him as much as the protagonist in Trails in the Sky.
Okay.
I feel like he's kind of, so far anyway, I'm sure there's more to him, maybe. I don't know. But so far he just seems like more of a kind of a goody-goody kind of thing, which I know is typical in a lot of JRPGs, but he's just, I don't find him as like interesting. Mm-hmm. Laura is just awesome, though. I mean, I really like her a lot. I mean, I don't know if I'm skewed just because of how she does in the battles, but I mean, she just destroys. Like, she would just totally just wiping out like hordes of enemies, you know?
Oh yeah, she's the best.
I think today, like, so I think there's an orbment called like Domination or something, and it doubles the damage of the first craft or art that you use. So today, I think like I saved her S craft. You know, I had 200 CP and I saved it all up, and I had her S craft, and I just did like 30,000 damage to like a whole group of enemies. And I'm like, I think she's more powerful than Sarah now. I think she is.
She can be, especially if you line those things up right. And unfortunately, in a couple of boss battles, you may have even tried this before. Like, you can just spam your S crafts. And it's over. I'm always like, well, that was easy. I mean, there are only a few battles, like, okay, they're in the old schoolhouse. There was like a battle like down the 5th floor or something where I really had to be aware of where I was spaced, as long as I was spaced apart, and it made it a lot easier. Yes.
But I mean, back to the characters, I just, I'm trying to think, Elise, I don't really like Machias that much, to be honest. I think he's probably my least favorite. He just kind of rubs me the wrong way still.
Yes. That doesn't change any.
Okay. Of course, I love Instructor Sarah. She just cracks me up. I think the voice acting for her is just really good. I really think it's really well done.
Oh yeah, she stands out because obviously she's a little bit older than the kids are, so she's able to do mature things like drink and and just be an awesome person. Both the worst teacher possible, but awesome to have a battle with you.
Well, I wanted to throw a little trivia at you. Actually, did you ever recognize Misty, right, from the Radio Abend, the Abend show or whatever?
Might recall her, yeah.
Yeah. So did you recognize her voice at all? If you think about it, do you recognize her voice?
As far as in Cold Steel or from another series?
Something else.
Oh, no, I did not.
Do you know that she's the same voice who does Jessie in Final Fantasy VII Remake?
Well, now that I would have probably heard it afterwards, that would have made a lot of sense. That's awesome.
Yeah, I figured, you probably can't imagine it now, but if you go back, you can kind of pick it up,
Absolutely. That's really cool. And that happens all the time, especially with, voice actors over here, that there's only so many of them to begin with.
Yeah.
No, we may talk about Jesse later on. I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know. We may get into that.
We might.
Well, I am so glad that you are enjoying it. So are you planning to just do them all back to back?
That's the plan right now. While you're doing the Sky games all back to back, I'm going to be doing this back to back.
I am, and luckily, hey, I'll throw a PSA out there for everybody. There's a new Steam sale going on right now. So if you have not picked up the Sky or any, like, I think the whole store's on sale. I really do. I already had the first two, and I can pick up the third one. I think it's only like $8 off or something like that. But hey, I'll take a discount no matter what it is.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, I think Cold Steel's on sale as well. But yeah, all the Sky games are a good chunk off, at least 30%. So if you haven't, and you are like myself and wanted to play through those before Cold Steel 4, now is a perfect time. You can save some cash.
I mean, they're just excellent games. I mean, I can't say enough about how much I enjoyed them, the Sky games. But I mean, the one thing I wanted to add is that I do think it's harder. Like, I don't know if it's because, it's older. So, I mean, I don't know if it's the kind of thing where you're like, when I went to school, both ways were uphill or something like that kind of thing. But it's just, sometimes you just get wiped out by a horde of enemies, and no matter what you.
Are you talking about in Sky, or are you talking about in Sky or Cold Steel?
I'm talking about Sky. I think the Sky was, yeah. You just get into a lot more battles. Like, how on Cold Steel, like on the map, you can see where the enemies are, like there's the little red triangles.
Right.
So in Sky, you can do that, but you actually have to have a certain orbment equipped in order to do that. So sometimes you can't see where the enemies are, they just kind of just materialize in front of you, and there's nothing you can do about it. And you just get, you just get spammed by an entire group of enemies. So that can be a little demoralizing when that happens.
It is, because you definitely get a big advantage, at least in Cold Steel, if you surprise the enemy rather than getting surprised by them. That can change the whole battle.
Yeah, so that's not as easy to do in Sky. And then also, there's also no voice acting in the game, if that's fine with you. But there's a mod I think you can use, and I never did anything like that. But I mean, I know there's no voice acting in the original games.
I'm completely fine with that. I mean, as you've seen in Cold Steel, it's only about half voice acted anyway. So
yeah, what's with this? Yeah, it's like we're in the middle. I don't understand it. It's like we're in the middle of a dialogue, and then it's like Reen of all people doesn't have a voice. I don't know. I'm not sure what the deal with that is, but
I could handle the lack of everything because there's so much dialogue in these games. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't expect NPCs to talk or anything, but when your voice acting cuts out for your main character in the middle of a scene, that's a little weird.
It is weird. It just sometimes that was just a little awkward.
Absolutely. So I think that's a pretty good place to stop for our Trails conversation. Let's if you don't care, let's take a quick break here, Jordan, and we'll be back, and we'll talk some Xenoblade and Final Fantasy VII Remake here on the JRPG Report. All right, everybody, we are back. I hope you've enjoyed our first half. We've got some more fun stuff to talk about here. We're going to touch lightly on Xenoblade Chronicles. Like I said, just completed it last night, so I got a few things I want to chit-chat with Jordan about, and then we'll wrap up with some Final Fantasy VII Remake talk. We've waited long enough. We are going to spoil everything.
Sure, yeah.
So first, let's talk about Xenoblade. And my question to you, sir, is which is better, 1 or 2?
Oh man, I still have to give like one answer. Can I just talk about certain aspects being better?
I think it's funny because both games have such good qualities to it. It's hard to answer that one properly.
It is hard. I mean, I still think I enjoyed it. I still think I probably enjoyed 2 slightly more, I would say.
Okay. I think I'm with you.
Yeah. I mean, it's close, and the story's both awesome. And of course, 2 has some of its, negative points too, but so does 1. And I don't know. It's a tough call.
I think the popular opinion is 1 was better. I don't think this, re-release is going to change anyone's opinion. If not, they're going to solidify it. And I could see where the story is probably better. It's grander. I don't know how to exactly say it. it is a cool story, but I felt myself I kind of got a little bored with the battle system.
Yeah, that's interesting that you talk about it, because that's what I was going to get into too. I was going to point to the battle systems. That's interesting you say that.
Yeah, and I know part of that is because I used Shulk, Ryan, and Charla. That was my party, and that's what you're not supposed to do. In order to make it interesting, I think you're supposed to use the other characters, but I couldn't. I failed miserably when I tried.
I'm with you though. I mean, it takes a lot for a game to get me to switch my go-to party. You know, I'm always like that with games. I mean, unless they really make it seamless or something, or it makes it so it's. I don't know. I'm with you on that one.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta have a healer, and so the argument against that in part 1 is you do so much damage so fast that you don't need one. Well, I just died. That didn't help me any. That was not working out well, so I just went back to I know I can keep alive if I can heal myself idea.
Well, I remember, a few weeks ago when we talked, I remember, and you hadn't really played, whatever it was, you hadn't played a lot of 1 yet, and I mentioned that I thought 1 was harder. Do you agree with that at this point, that 1 is harder?
It probably would be if I wasn't a terrible gamer and go to casual mode. Yeah.
Okay.
I can freely admit that. I play games to have fun. I don't need the challenge in my life. It's a Switch game, so I don't even need the trophy. That's not really affected me any.
Yeah,
I wanted to play through this for the story and to know how I could connect it with part 2, not to say I beat this game on even regular mode. That doesn't affect me any, because I kind of felt like you needed to put in hours of leveling up in order to play it even on normal mode. So yeah, in that aspect, it is harder.
I mean, like I was just telling you about before. I mean, like I had to, when I was playing it on the Wii, I didn't have that option, so I did do a lot of leveling up, and I still didn't get to where I needed to be at the end, and somehow managed to pull it out. But
at the end, you can go on a couple missions and gain some massive amounts of experience, but that's only at the very, very end. Otherwise, each little thing gives you such little experience. It's really tough.
I found that, I mean, it was a challenging game, I think, more than 2013 or whatever it was, 2012. It was still challenging at that point.
I'm sure. I always found kind of funny that you get a lot more experience by finding landmarks than grinding enemies, and especially if you find the secret ones, right? Oh, they give you bukus.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you end up finally, you were talking about, I think, on one of your how a horde of enemies just comes and ends up wiping you out, kind of, and it's just like, but then if you defeat one of those hordes, it's like you don't get as much reward as for like finding a landmark or something. I think that's kind of ridiculous.
Absolutely not. You are best off to run most of the time. Unfortunately, it's either you die and have to go back to the landmark you found last.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I mean, I enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. Overall, I was a little disappointed, I think, because I built myself up so much.
You did build it up well. Yeah.
Yeah, I did. I did a good job. But I mean, it was an incredible story to experience, some really good characters and a nice party. I really thought like the character I was most interested in was Dunban, and his role as the former hero who now is in this party and is still kind of like quasi-leader in a lot of ways. It was an interesting dynamic.
He kind of was. I mean, and his friends he keeps around are interesting.
Without spoiling too much, they're terrible. I mean, no matter what we say, we don't want to spoil. The game is 8 years old, so and so I don't want to spoil too much, I guess. But yeah, bad Dunban. No. Bad Dunban. You said you didn't really. So you think that was your party as well? You didn't stray from that.
Yeah, I don't think I did too much. I'm very unlikely to change my party unless, I don't know, you give me a really good reason.
That's who I was looking for, the attacker, the tank, and the healer. That's just happens to be the first three people that they give you.
I mean, I think also in Xenoblade Chronicles 2, I ended up with my go-to eventually, pretty much is the same, Morag and Nia, and then Rex, that's just who I ended up with all the time. So,
yeah. Oh, see, but I figured out how to do it in 2 with not having Nia in the party. I couldn't do that with part 1. It just didn't work for me.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
Well, but Morag, you couldn't hurt her no matter what. She stayed at max health all the time.
Well, she's gaining health when she's getting hit. I mean, it made the battle so much easier. And I just found in 2 also just the in general, like the battle system, I just found pulling off those humongous amounts of damage. And once you understand the battle system and you're able to all that, go in the correct order and your chain attacks with the correct elements and all that stuff. And once you pull off those full bursts and those awesome attacks, like I found that so much more fulfilling than what was going on in Xenoblade Chronicles 1. That added a lot for me.
I completely agree. And me not playing it in order and then going back to where I even conferred with you, while we were on the break, was all you could do was just a chain attack, right? There wasn't some hidden super thing that I wasn't nailing. And you said that was it, right?
I think so. I mean, maybe our other listeners can chime in and maybe they remember something different, but I don't remember being able to do anything more.
I don't think so. I definitely recall seeing a random 1-minute video or something and them hitting, 12 to 15 chain attacks back to back, and nothing ever happened past that. So
I don't think there's any more ultimate thing.
No. Of course, it gets faster and faster every time to try to keep it going. And I don't know, but I was able to get through it. It was a fun game. I would definitely recommend it to any Switch owner. That goes without saying. You're gonna have a fun time. I still was constantly befuddled by the areas that looked gorgeous and the areas that looked like they hadn't been touched. It was weird. It really was.
I've heard a lot of people, obviously, I haven't played the definitive edition yet, but I've just heard that from a lot of people. And that Satori Marsh back on the Wii, I thought it looked pretty good then, but I'm sure, I heard it looks great now.
That was my first moment, I'll tell you, because you're like, man, you're working really hard on that. Harsh on the game. And when I got to nighttime at Satori Marsh, that was when I was like, whoa. That's gorgeous. They nailed that, but like you said, they did well back in the original as well. And
I'm sure it's not as good. To be honest with you, the overall feel on the Wii, you can imagine, I felt like I was just I was like swimming in a sea of cream of wheat or something, just like a bunch of grain, and it didn't, everything seemed just kind of unclear, but some places did still look pretty cool, but overall, it's kind of like a blurry game.
Yeah. I think a lot of that is the contrast from the grays and browns from the settlements that the humans are making. Then you get into the organic stuff from the Bionis, and that contrast they did a good job in that aspect, but I think it's just quite stark. The thing that was the coolest by far is when you can see the giants in the background. That scale that you get was really cool.
I always thought that was always cool.
I don't know how they did that, to be quite honest.
I don't think I had seen something, at least from my memory, I don't think I'd seen something quite like that when I first played the game. There's no other game that I was like, oh, it's like this other game. I think that was pretty unique.
The only aspect of it that was similar, but obviously it was just one at a time, was Shadow of the Colossus, in my mind, where you're, climbing these giant things, but as you're climbing one of these, you can see the other giant one in the background, and you get this crazy sense of scale that I've not really seen in too many other games.
I think that the look is pretty awesome. And I also think when you fall, I don't know if you ever get this feeling, but when sometimes when you jump off somewhere really high, either in Xenoblade Chronicles 1 or 2, I feel like really get the sense that you're actually falling. I feel like I could feel my stomach drop a little bit, as if I was on the Tower of Terror at Disney or something. I feel like I felt that,
You get to the edge and you hesitate because it's so high, and you get that sense. Yeah, absolutely. And there's I play Grand Theft Auto. those type of games where you're jumping off of a tall building. It's that same thing. Very few games can properly nail that.
I will admit I actually haven't played a Grand Theft Auto game before.
Oh wow.
Isn't that weird?
Because that's JRPG report confession time.
Yeah.
We're going to have to change you on that. Those are fun. Those are fun games. You'll there's a lot to be had there. There's tons. That's the funny thing. There's tons of RPG elements in those games. It's kind of cool.
Are there? Oh, cool.
Oh yeah, there's building, definitely. But we don't talk about those things here. So I think we've talked about. Are you going to pick this one up eventually?
Probably just because of the future connected thing. I mean, I don't know if you're going to start getting into that now, but I was like, in the beginning, I was like, yeah, I'm definitely getting it because I want to see that. But I've read some things that said future connected isn't that good. So now I'm like, I'll still probably get it. But I mean, it seems to have me not as excited as I was.
I understand. That's a lot of money to pay for a 10-hour side, if you're not really interested in playing the original one again, too.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, to tell you the truth, I am interested in playing the original, but I can't. It's just not going to bypass a bunch of other things that are in my backlog that I haven't played at all yet. It's like hard for me to put it over a new game or a game I haven't played yet.
No, I completely agree. And I mean, I didn't feel that inclined to want to play through Future Connected. I will one day, but it's probably going to be a while.
So you don't feel like a strong desire to play it like right now?
I don't. I tell you, because I messed up and I played Torna right after I got done with Xenoblade Chronicles 2, and I didn't complete it. I completely lost interest, and so obviously this one's shorter. You could get through it pretty quickly, but I wanted to be done with it because I got some stuff I want to play. I'll go back because it's short, but it'll be a few months at least.
Forgot about because I have the Torna too, and I guess I'll have to go play that at some point too. I forgot about that.
I'll be very interested to see what you say when you play it, if you had the same feeling. Obviously, not playing it back to back, I think, is a big factor. But I want to see if maybe I was just missing something that didn't quite have the same feel to me.
Guess we'll find out. I mean, I used to be years ago. Once I started a game, like I always had to finish it, even if it was horrible. But now I find, if I try to be aware, when I'm not enjoying these games, I'm like, I got other things to do. I think my first experience with that was actually Final Fantasy 13-2.
Oh, right.
I just was playing. I was just like, what am I doing? I'm doing chores here. I'm doing chores. I got a lot of chores to do at home. I don't want to do chores when I'm playing a game.
I don't know when you come to that realization in your life, but because I'm the same way. I would play it through even if I didn't like it, but time is precious and you don't want to spend doing something you don't enjoy.
No, and that's when I realized that. It was the first time I got up. I was like, you know what? I don't know. I don't have to play this anymore. And I got up and I took it out on my PS3, and that was it. Or PS2, whatever it was. I don't remember what it was on now. Was it PS3?
It was, yeah. Because the god awful 13 was before.
That's right. Yeah. I like that game.
It tried to be enjoyable. It just wasn't.
I actually enjoyed it, but I did not enjoy the second one. So,
well, at least we didn't play the third one.
I never played the third one.
It's in the collection. Like, I'm looking at it. It's over there just because I have to have it, but I ain't about to play it.
Maybe you could play that and finish it in the next couple of days.
Maybe. No, not gonna happen. No. It's back to Royal. So that's my wife has been very upset that I even stopped playing Royal because she was solely invested in that story. But
it's a great story. It's a great story.
So. It is. It's long. It's a long game.
I do admire that. So this is one of the games that you actually were okay with going to play again. Like it seems like.
I'll tell you this: I have enjoyed this playthrough even more than I did the original. They did a great job with really drawing you back in and making really some good enhancements to it.
That's really good to know. I mean, I did pick it up, right away pretty much. So, I mean, that's good to know I didn't waste my money if that's the case.
Absolutely not. We'll speak on that later. If you did waste your money or not, we'll preview that in another episode, I believe.
All right.
Let's talk about that small little game that came out. I don't know if you remember it or not. It's been so long. Final Fantasy VII Remake. And so, yeah, it was way back there when the world was insane. Oh wait, it's still insane. Nothing's changed there. But let's talk first some general stuff, and then we'll get into the heavier thing. The big question is, did it live up to the hype?
It did. It did, definitely, more than even I thought it would. Yeah, definitely.
I think it exceeded it, actually.
I agree.
I think they nailed absolutely every aspect of it. I still would have preferred a straight-up turn-based remake. However, what they did was one of the best action RPG battle systems ever invented.
I agree. I mean, it was just so smooth, I think, even in the battles. And that is one instance when I felt like I could use all the characters and interchange them, and it was okay because of the way they made everything just so seamless. And I even though it wasn't, I prefer turn-based too, but I really enjoyed the system they implemented.
You wanted to play with the other ones. Like, I even had fun playing with Aerith, going back and just doing the spells. That was fun.
Well, it was fun. I mean, and even, I remember playing the original, of course, back, I think, when I was in high school, and they really made the characters seem like how I imagined that they would be, then, like, because, RPGs, especially back then, I mean, they left a lot to your imagination. You kind of imagine their personalities, based on the little bit of dialogue that you have. And they just really brought my imagination from high school, I think, to life. I really felt like it was, these are how the characters were supposed to be that I always imagined to be.
Yeah, they fleshed everybody out, and then to the point of it's all spoken. That was one of my most impressive things. Not only visuals, but every line from every person was all spoken. It was incredible.
And all the NPCs, everything. It was crazy.
Yeah, you kind of just like, oh wait, this person's talking to me. And then they talk, when you're out in the street, you hear all the rumblings, and people are the cities are so alive. Like I felt like you really saw what they wanted to do with 15 and couldn't, and this is the ultimate expression of what actual places would look and feel like.
I mean, and in the slums too. The slums has really come to life, I think, a lot. I mean, you can see the people are also, they might not, they don't have, the conditions aren't great there, but I feel like there's so much substance to every single person, and they all seem to find joy in whatever they're doing in their lives. And I thought that was pretty cool.
Oh yeah, like miserable life in the slums, but like nobody's really all that unhappy. They're okay with their position in life. That was really nice.
It was really like the lighting too. I don't know if you noticed, it was often like kind of bright lighting kind of in the slums. But I mean, when you get up on top of the plate, like you were really only there pretty much when it was dark.
Yeah.
Unless you're much later in the game, and they really like portrayed as this kind of dark and kind of cold place, but the slums are this kind of bright place,
Yeah, I did notice that dynamic. I guess in the very beginning, you see what it's like on top in that opening cutscene. But other than that, yeah, you just go up and see, Jesse's parents in that one area, but it's at night. So,
at night, yes.
Yeah, definitely the slum, especially like Sector 6, at her house with all the flowers and the waterfall, and like, it was so bright and cheery. It's like, wait, I'm supposed to feel bad for this?
It was unbelievable. When I saw her Aerith, house for the first time, I thought it was unbelievable how they did that. I mean, it was just the most like beautiful place.
Yeah, absolutely. They nailed almost. I can't think of anything they didn't nail in terms of locations and doing a great job.
I can't really think of any. It's hard for me to think of anything, visually or location wise that upset me or made me kind of annoyed. So I mean, I just really enjoyed the appearance of every single location.
You loved all the side quests too, right?
I mean, and I felt like the side quests, of course, they actually, yeah, and they actually felt like they were related more to the game, unlike some other games. They felt like you were most part, doing something useful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, he was building up as a mercenary, so of course he's going to go do all these side quests. It made sense. Like, eliminating monsters that are threatening a place. Okay, that seems about right.
Like our Xenoblade, right? You go out and fetch me this big petal flower that's 80 miles away.
Let me go and do that. Oh, you've got another quest for me, sir. Oh, you've got another quest. And they're all dumb as the one before it.
But we do them anyway.
And of course, yeah. Like, so, and they were just for money, but that, yeah, at least with this one, not only did you get the experience that was valuable from the fights themselves, but you'd always get a bump, you know, at the end. So it was well worth your time and trouble. Did you make Tifa to be the most powerful person in the party?
I did. I mean, I thought she was. I think it was a byproduct too. Like, I just thought she was so much fun to fight with. I mean, I thought there was overall. I felt like I was playing of Rage 2 or something in the middle of a Final Fantasy game, which I really enjoyed. So I thought she was awesome, and I was focused on making her pretty powerful.
I just think it worked out that way with her equipment and everything that you were able to do. The more you put into it, experience-wise, the AP, you just build up her strength pretty naturally. It's where her attack was the highest out of all of them. It was kind of wild that she was stronger than Cloud.
I thought the way, I forget, some of the names of her abilities slipped my mind, but it's the one where you can focus and then you focus again and she does like a different attack. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Is it chakra? Yeah. Is that right?
No, that's a materia. I just don't remember. But I just thought,
yeah.
I just wish I could remember what that was called. I don't know if you do. When you could focus her attacks and then she'd have like a different attack with triangle you could do.
I'm sure somebody's screaming it at us, so that's okay.
I'm sure they are. I know. I just had a blast playing in battles with her.
I felt like I wanted to use her more, but I was having so much fun actually with Cloud that I didn't think I would. So I just I ended up sticking with him more. I mean, I'd do anything I could not to use Barrett, but you kind of had to sometimes.
Of course, when you end up having to play as him, I ended up, of course, trying to blow up every crate or whatever.
When he gets stuck underground and there's a million crates down there, you're like, I'm going to get that Moogle medal. I know there's one hiding in here.
I'm just trying to blast all the crates. It was harder to aim with him, too, with that. It was just still fun.
Like, I don't like first-person shooters, but I really feel like we could have used some sort of either first-person or third, like aiming mechanic would have been helpful.
It would have.
Rather than just, okay, here's holding the button and hoping for the best. He wasn't terrible at that point. Like, I guess by himself he was okay. It's just, I mean, he's so much weaker than the other characters.
Of course, I think we talked about this before, but he became my mage at one point. He became my mage and my healer pretty much.
Somebody had to.
Yeah.
And his attack was the weakest, and you can make him into a magic person. So that's what I did. Yeah.
I use that magnify materia or whatever that makes it so you can have your spell go to everybody.
Yes. Yeah. In lieu of the all, for people, that's what you had to do basically.
They didn't have, because I remember in the original, right, they had a lot more of those blue all materias, right? But they didn't have many magnifies in this game.
No, I thought it was just the one. Maybe
it's the one. I think it's maybe one.
Yeah, I think it was. That was it. So that really limited your ability to do that and cast magic on everybody.
And even the enemy skill materia too. I think there was only also one. I think, and there was more in the original. I think too.
There was plenty more. I guess I got it. Or if I did, I didn't see that much use for it. Like in the original, you could use that to great advantage if used properly, and I just didn't even bother with it.
I forget. I don't remember what it was. Oh, there was a useful ability that I learned in the enemy skill materia that allowed you to freeze things, basically, that surrounded you while you were fighting. So, like, sometimes enemies would come close to me and they would get damaged automatically because of that ability. So I did like that.
Oh, that would be helpful. Absolutely. Yeah. But yeah, that's pretty... I don't know. It doesn't seem like it was worth it nearly as much especially not as much as the first one.
No, in the original, I'll say I was going to talk about the original was just for me, it holds even a special place, I guess, in my heart, because it was really, for me, the first good JRPG I ever played.
Wow.
And I went back and played all the SNES RPGs and JRPGs later, actually. But the first JRPG I played, besides Dragon Warrior when I was a little kid, was actually Beyond the Beyond.
Oh no!
And I didn't know any better. I was like, and I actually rented it over and over again before I bought it because I just wanted to beat it. But I mean, they were pretty annoying, but I just kind of got into it. And then when Final Fantasy VII came out and I played it, I bought it and I played it and I was like, this is incredible. I was like, I can't believe I was playing that piece of crap game. I mean, that game that made me realize how awful Beyond the Beyond really is. Just horrible.
Well, I mean, compared to, Final Fantasy VII, every game was kind of crap at that time.
But I just, just how attached I got to the characters, I mean, and everything, and the music, and I just remembered everything about it, and it just kind of held a special place for me. So when this was remade, I mean, not that everyone else wasn't excited, but I was just super excited. Speaking
of the music, oh my goodness. This is one of the best, if not the best, musical performances. They nailed every bit of it.
I loved it, and I loved how they found so many different ways to rearrange the themes too. If you notice, they could kind of pick out the Aerith theme in so many different things, and even at like the vending machines, you get these little or you get these little jazz kind of 40s versions of the songs, and just a lot of the music was just incredible.
I could have lived without a couple of the Chocobo songs, but other than that, did that one side quest where you had to pick the 3 songs? Did you have trouble with that one for the people that were needing motivation or whatever?
Or you have to go like there's that little like in the wall market. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. What's her name? Marlene is trying to cheer everybody up.
Yeah. It was. Yeah, I had a little. I don't remember why, but I did have a little trouble with that.
I had so much trouble. I'd keep on trying to pick ones. I was like, "Oh yeah, surely they'll like this one." But I guess it was ones you actually had to get in Walmart.
Had to go get them. Yeah, you actually had to go find them at that time. Otherwise, you couldn't just play songs you already had.
Oh well, that's what I tried. I was going down, 25 songs or something, and trying to find one that they would like. It didn't work out very well. No.
If I were there, I would have told you just to keep trying more songs. I wouldn't have told you that you needed to go around Walmart.
I appreciate that, friend.
I'm always looking out for you.
Speaking of Walmart, how did that turn out for you in terms of the girls and the dresses, and who did the Dawn pick in your game?
Well, the Don ended up picking Cloud actually.
Okay, yeah, me too. Yeah.
The whole wall market area was just so much. I couldn't believe the level of detail and how big they made it seem. And then with the whole, everyone was looking forward to seeing how that, cross-dressing, whole thing played out. So I thought it was interesting with they kind of inserted like a rhythm game in there, which I thought, I actually like rhythm games. I know you're not a fan, but I enjoyed that part. I thought that was pretty I enjoyed that. I thought it was pretty cool. Like I really liked that Persona 4 dancing all night and all that stuff. I like all that stuff. So, I mean, I did enjoy that.
They put that in there just for you, buddy.
It's like, well, this is fun.
I just sat there like, I can't believe I got to do this, but you're right with Walmart. I mean, you're talking about was basically like one little alley in the original, maybe 2, and they just made it into like practically a city. It was
what?
and so much going on. I got lost more times than I can remember in that little part.
Because there's so many like alleys, and some of them have dead ends and stuff, and it's hard to figure out where to go.
Yeah, or stairs to nowheres or platforms and. Oh my gosh, I spent a lot of time getting lost in that town, but it was you didn't mind, like you wanted to explore all that stuff.
No, I mean I didn't find myself getting annoyed about it, but I mean I definitely. I don't know what I wanted to ask you. Did you ever figure out what was the deal with, in the original game they had that room where you walk in and the machine gun just blasts at you and you have to move out of the way? You know what I'm talking about in Walmart?
Yeah.
It was, so I know they had, obviously they had it in this version too, in the remake. Did you ever get anything from that, or nothing ever happened?
I don't know if I was doing something wrong, but nothing ever came of that. No.
Okay, nothing for me either. I just was wondering, because I think in the original, don't you eventually get like Tifa's ultimate weapon or something?
It's somewhere down the line, and maybe, you could do that later on in part 12 or whatever it ends up being.
Yeah, maybe in one of the later games they'll have that.
Maybe that was just the introduction for us old fans. I don't know.
Yeah, I just was wondering if I missed something or what.
No. Did you go down the little back alley behind the Honeybee Inn?
Pretty sure I went down every alley. I mean, when I went, isn't that the one where you find out that the girl from the daycare center or the teacher? Yeah.
Oh, that was the funniest. Oh, and there was a lot of those little moments. Like if you went and explored, you could find out these little nuggets that they added into it that were really funny.
Yeah, I mean, I found myself laughing in a lot of different parts in the game.
It was quite...
I mean, just the overall atmosphere, I just can't even... I don't know if you remember, when you are walking with Aerith for the first time to Wall Market, I guess after you go through that, where you go through that old Sector 6 or whatever, that whole destroyed area?
Yeah.
I felt like that part where you're walking with her, it just like they actually made that feel like a lot more magical, even like the music and the atmosphere and everything. It just, I don't know, it just kind of elevated even I felt about it years ago to a totally different level.
It did. They absolutely said, we're going to make every moment as awesome as we can. And maybe that's why it took, 7 years or whatever from start to finish, because they fleshed out every bit of it.
Well, hopefully not another 7 years for the next one, please.
How long is it going to be, Jordan?
I hope it's next. I mean, of course, I want to say, oh, yeah, next year. But, I mean, I know you said 2022, I think, right?
That's my best guess. But, I mean, they don't even know what it's going to be. Like, how far they're going to go in the game. So, I'm not hopeful. I'm really not.
Because I guess now we're about to get maybe the spoilers. But, I mean, because maybe the story is going to be different now. So,
yeah, let's go ahead and say if you've not played it, why don't you go ahead and click off, and we'll see you on Wednesday, because we got to talk about a few things. It's not fair not to talk about a few things at this point, and to have a conversation with another human being of what's going on in your head and what happened. So we'll give pause for turning off the podcast. All right, yeah. So yeah, some things happened, and how did you feel about the whole Fates idea in for real?
Well, first of all, I thought they were really hitting you in the head with their idea that they wanted to change things. They're really kind of like hammering you over the head with, once you end up pretty much just, the fates are guiding you, I guess, towards the original Final Fantasy VII story, and then you end up destroying fate, like literally destroying fates. Like, I don't want to say I don't know what word to use. They made it too obvious, I want to say, kind of, or they're really just hitting you over the head with it. And I don't know if I liked it. I don't know if I like that or not. I mean, I'm kind of torn about it. I mean, I was looking forward to seeing how all the, the original story would be represented now. And I feel like now we're probably not going to get to see that. So I find that, I'll just use the word slightly disturbing, but maybe okay.
Obviously, we'll have to wait and see how it all turns out when that happens. But you just couldn't help but come away with it like, why did they do that? Like, did they just add 2 years of making this game so that they could just change it all in reality? We're going to keep all the moments that we talked about, for 15 minutes, all those memorable moments, and we didn't hit on nearly a quarter of them probably. But yet, is none of it going to matter because they're going to change everything from now on?
It's possible. I mean, they left the door wide open to do whatever they want, I guess.
Well, they already did. I mean, in just the first, what is in the original, the opening 6 to 8 hours, they've already completely thrown everything out at the end with just by even facing Sephiroth. I mean, I didn't care for that.
I mean, I felt like I was don't know, playing some advanced version of Virtua Fighter or something at the end or something, playing with the one-on-one with him, I mean, and it's like, what are they going to have us fight him one-on-one like 5 different times over the course of the next bunch of games? Like, it's just seems weird.
It is weird. Like, that's part of the a great villain is you build up, and then you finally get to face him in the end. And they've already gotten rid of that. They didn't need to do that.
No, I thought it was on. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I guess you could argue they probably didn't need to do the last hour of the game. Some people could argue that. I don't know.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, I will say when I got past the motorcycle part at the end, before all that happens, I was like, this is cool. And they had the original music, they got the blue pickup truck and everything from the original. I was like,
exactly.
And I was like, this is awesome. And I was like, this is so awesome. And then you get off and you're walking into that, I don't know if you call it a portal or whatever, like the highway's supposed to end and you're supposed to go off to new areas and stuff, from the old story. But it's like, I found myself thinking after that, I was like, wait a minute, what is going on here? Like for the next hour, I found myself thinking, what is happening?
Yeah, it was an hour that didn't need to happen. That's and like they even changed the last boss fight to make it a motorcycle fight, which I thought was extremely easy, and just hacking and slashing away until you finally beat one of the cooler bosses in the game.
Yeah, I mean, still focused. I just still can't believe. I am in disbelief, like you said, that they brought Sephiroth. The possibility to even fight him in this game. That's all, I guess.
It is. It's weird, and of course, I mean, just the fates all over the place. And I did like at the top of Shinra Tower that boss fight against Genova. I thought that was pretty cool.
That was really cool. Yeah.
Obviously, completely, different, and and like I mean, they even changed the way that President Shinra passes. So that was kind of weird.
Did you find that battle against Rufus to be difficult towards the end, or not?
I kind of thought that was one of the harder fights.
It was, yeah. I thought it was one of the harder ones.
Yeah, I mean, is it 1-on-1 or does Tifa come up and help?
I think it's 1-on-1.
I think it is 1-on-1. Of course, he's got his dog with him too, which I felt bad.
Oh yeah, I felt bad too. Yeah.
I don't want to wail on no dog. But yeah, it definitely feels like they added things that didn't need to be. I mean, but then the things that they did add with like the train graveyard, that was incredible.
It was so cool. I mean, and just even the appearance of the ghosts in there even was cool.
It was. I liked it. It's so weird because you feel like we talked about. It's such a great game, and then all the little things that they added really just detracts from your overall opinion of it.
I mean, it certainly didn't add to it. I'll say that.
No.
Yeah.
I think they took the word remake a little too literally.
I think so. Yeah, I think they may have. I mean, I wanted to ask you, do you remember close to the very end, and you go off, your cloud goes off with Sephiroth alone, and then Sephiroth says 10 seconds until the end. Did you ever figure out what that meant?
There's a bunch of theories out there, and I don't have any clue what that's supposed to be. The only thing I can is that some sort of like foreshadowing that he's got 7 seconds to make a move to save a certain somebody who gets pierced by a giant sword. I'm purely guessing at that point.
I mean, he does have visions. Cloud has visions of that happening, and among other things.
Yeah, I mean that is all laid out there, and so the $100 million question is, since they're changing everything, is she going to live?
Yeah, that's what everybody wants to know, I think.
How do you feel like if she does? Would that make you upset?
No, I don't. I actually don't think that would make me upset because I'm still upset. I'm still upset that she died.
All these years later, I haven't gotten over it.
I remember, because like I said, it was the first, good JRPG I played, and I didn't see that coming at all, when I was 15 years old or whatever, and I just, all of a sudden, Sephiroth comes down, and it's just, I couldn't believe it. I think the controller just fell from my hand, and I was just devastated.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And she was such a vital part of the party at that time, too. you could have used her.
It was just devastating, and I think it was like really late at night too. It might have been like 3 a.m. or something. You know, when you have to go to bed after something like that, it just was really rough. Yeah,
It's not gonna work. I think that maybe they're setting everybody up to where you think you're going to be able to, and then something happens and she still dies or something in a different way, or you couldn't change her fate. You can change everything else, but it's tough. It is.
I don't know if you saw this, because who did you end up saving, like in the sewers? Like, who did you end up having an extra sort of little thing with there at the end, towards the end, in like chapter 14?
Is that where you choose between the two of them?
Well, yeah, we choose between the two of them, kind of, different choices you make throughout the game, including who you wake up in the sewers, in chapter 10.
Okay. Yes.
But then it results in chapter 14, like different outcomes. I don't know who you ended up.
I'm trying. If I didn't end up with Tifa, I don't remember otherwise. That's definitely the way I was trying to make it happen.
Me too, yeah. I ended up with Tifa also, but I did look, because I wanted to see what would have happened. So I actually looked just like the video of what would happen if it were like Aerith. And then she says, like you in that, you can't fall in love with me or something like that. So I just didn't know if that's sort of answering your question about if she lives or not. I don't know if she knows something or what.
That's interesting. Or is it you can't fall in love with me because my boyfriend's still alive? Oh!
I forgot about that.
Yeah. No, it's hard not to forget about that one. And I mean, I've not played Crisis Core, so I don't have that.
Me neither. Yeah.
I don't have that investment, but there's a lot of people that did, and that's like one of their like moments of all moments. And is without that moment, Cloud isn't who he is either. That's just weird.
The whole thing is weird, and it makes me think: is it like, is there a parallel universe where the original Final Fantasy VII story keeps going, and then he happens to be alive in this other universe or something that we are now in, since it's this weird ending to the game? Like, I don't know.
That seems to be what they're laying down, is parallel universes of some sorts.
And Sephiroth wants some other parallel universe, like that he never got yet or something?
I mean, I think he knows the way that ended, so he's gone back, maybe he's gone back in time to try to change that or something to that effect.
The old Terminator thing going on now.
Oh, yeah. Back to the Future, Terminator, how you pick whatever you want to go with it. But it certainly seems like the Sephiroth that we see in this game is powered up. Like, he's not the Sephiroth that is at the beginning of the original Final Fantasy VII, still kind of finding out, I feel like, who he is. I feel like this is like ultimate form almost.
He seems like he's already there.
Yeah, he's already been through Kingdom Hearts. He's been through the original. He's Advent Children. He's all these things all in one,
He's way more powerful than I expected him to be at this point.
He is, and he knows it. I mean, that where he just opens up rifts in time and space seems like that's an advanced ability.
Did you? This is like, because I think the original, right, didn't he leave a trail of blood through the Shinra building? But in this, wasn't it not blood? It was like Genova's goo or something. I mean, is that true?
Yeah, that weird purple miasma. It was absolutely blood, and I think a lot of people was wondering how they were going to handle all the blood. And of course, you lead up to the sword through the president there on his desk, all the blood everywhere. And so none of that happened.
Yeah, I was surprised about that.
I was too, and I mean, it wasn't mature, was it? It was teen. So.
Oh yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah, so I don't know why that would have made it more mature. I mean, the language didn't make it mature, so why would some blood make it mature?
The language, yeah. I mean, in the original, all they're doing is putting those, symbols over Barrett's words in the original, but now they really just let it go in this game. So
nobody held back. It was everything. I guess they didn't say one or two super bad words that were a family friendly podcast. Yeah. Well, I think I've spoke on that before. The only other thing I want to talk about is, why is Jesse the only person that has to die?
I know, yeah. I mean, and I remember, I think we were talking. You said maybe she'll turn up at the gold saucer later or something like that in the other game.
Well, they didn't show anything though. It's like, how did Biggs and Wedge survive? That's just dumb.
Especially Biggs. I don't know how he survived at all. And like you see him at the orphanage, the school or whatever, in the bed again, and it's just like, how did that happen? And Wedge had like, I want to say a piano fell on him, but I know it's not true. Something fell on him, like it was huge. I don't remember. And
no, I mean, yeah, they're mortally wounded pretty much at the pillar, and then the plate falls on top of them. That should probably do it. But no, only Jesse is the one that has been presumed to be dead.
Yeah, that bothered me too. I was very surprised at the end of, based on the fact they're showing Biggs and Wedge, that we didn't see anything about Jesse. So.
It's just odd. Like, I feel like it should be all or nothing at best, but it doesn't make it any more right. Why they died? It's okay. Like, that's part of their motivation for doing what they did, was kind of to, avenge them. They put so much oomph into these characters, and you love them. Like, it would have been okay for them to die. We know they were supposed to.
Yeah, but one thing is, I really think you might end up being right. I really think like she's going to somehow turn up at the gold saucer. Like I know you like kind of joke about it, but I really think you might be right.
She shows up just to complicate things further romantically, right?
Of course, yeah. I mean, she already complicated. She was trying actively to complicate things.
I guess so. Did you say you got the kiss at the end of the first motorcycle?
I did, yeah.
Oh, well, congratulations, sir. Way to go. I guess I was not sufficient enough in murdering motorcycle thugs as you were.
I don't know. I don't think you're really missing out too much. So I think you're all right.
Okay. It didn't hurt my feelings any, no. She didn't want to parachute down with me, so that's fine. Be that way.
She went down with Biggs or whatever instead, right?
I was guessing that was a weight distribution thing. I don't know. That was such a good mission, though. I did enjoy that one.
That was really, I mean, I'd say just about every mission was pretty cool.
It really was. Even, you're going to go down in the sewers in any JRPG. They did a really good job with those sewers.
And it was more interesting. Even like the appearance of them was more interesting. Like sewers are so easy to make really bland, I think, in a game. So I found myself not feeling that way as much this game.
Yeah, no, you really did not want to go in the sewer water in this one. It made you feel ugh.
It made me feel like I needed to take a shower.
They did, and I don't think they did, actually.
I don't think they ever took a shower once in the whole game.
No. All Tifa did was complain about needing a shower, but never did. Never happened. Just smelled like sewer for the entire game.
It was just worse and worse through the whole game.
That's really all I got, unless there's anything else on your plate.
I mean, what are you looking forward to most in the next game, you think? What would you look forward to the most?
I guess just actually being able to explore. I'm curious how they're going to do. Of course, the previous one had an overworld that you basically move from point to point, and with the random battles spewing in. So I'm wondering what their take is going to be on that. If it's going to be straight up open world and you've actually got to run and fight enemies along the way, as you go. As you go to Parm into that first cave and the marshes and all that stuff. It's going to be interesting to see how they even handle that concept.
Oh yeah, I forgot the marshes and that giant snake that lives there.
Yep. I mean, is the snake going to be up on a spike that Sephiroth has already went through there? I mean, all of this is completely up. Are they even going to follow that storyline, or is it completely new from here on out?
I don't know, but they at least have to keep some of these places. I mean, they can't just they have to have the gold saucer eventually. They have to have Junon. They have to have Cosmo Canyon, the city of the ancients. They have to. They can't abandon at least the places.
The only thing I'm worried about is how long that's going to take. Like, if you do every city and every location that's in the original game, you're going to be breaking this game up into what I would guess 4 parts, conservatively thinking. I
don't know if I want it to be 4 parts.
I don't I don't either. I'm just saying if they give the amount of attention they did to Midgar as they do the rest of the game, they're going to make it a long, long game.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's almost like they have to figure out how to like condense the entire world or something now.
It is, and that's also what I'm worried about is they wrote this alternate line so they didn't have to do all those things.
I mean, Gold Saucer at least has to be one place they have to have. I just think that at least, just even if it's nowhere else, they have to have that.
I think that's mandatory. Obviously, there's a lot that goes on there, story-wise as well. But yeah, I can see them skipping over, a few things like that tower that you find Phoenix at and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
I mean, like Juneau Harbor and what's the seaside town? Like, you got to go there, right?
Costa, whatever. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. I mean, all those places that we went to and loved in the first one. But yeah, I mean,
Costa del Sol. That's what it is. Costa del Sol.
That's it. You've got to go there. I mean, yeah, Cosmic Canyon, obviously, that goes without saying.
Have to go there, yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's where you basically explain what the whole story is. But how did you feel about not being able to play Nanakai?
Red 13?
Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot about his real name, but his tribal name or whatever. I mean, I wasn't I think it's just because I didn't have the expectation I was going to be playing him. So, I mean, I already thought it was pretty cool he was even in the game. I mean, I know he is in the story at that point, but I thought he was he was more involved even than I just thought he would be. So I wasn't disappointed, I don't think.
I wonder if he's never going to be able to be playable.
No, I mean, I feel like that's something they have to add. I mean, he becomes, especially when you get to Cosmo Canyon, I mean, I feel like it wouldn't make sense not to be able to play him after that, at least.
That's true. It's just going to be very interesting because he would play completely differently than anybody else.
Which would be awesome, or which could be awesome.
It could be. Like, I can see the part 2 going for so long that you don't even get your full party yet. Or like the high wind, What if that happens? You can't even fly the ship in part 2.
Oh, you got to see Sid at some point, I guess.
Oh, yeah. And I'm sure he will not be smoking a cigarette. I'll go ahead and say that. You're not going to have any of that. You're not going to have any of the spousal abusal problems that, there was a lot of mature themes in the original one that was all present. The heavy drinking. I mean, I think they're going to cut a bunch of stuff out.
Maybe they'll go the Final Fantasy 15 direction, and you'll end up having to drive a car around instead, and you'll just go to gas stations in order to. I don't know.
I mean, you get the little what do they call that little hover car thing that you drive around at some point.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, I mean, of course you get the chocobos before that. That's the only part of 15 that I think would be okay to be in here is the chocobo riding.
I think that would be cool. And then I forgot about that little like hovercraft thing or whatever that thing was.
Yeah, that could be not in there. I don't know. I mean,
I don't know, but at least Gold Saucer is and Cosmo Canyon. Those are my like mandatory things anyway.
Absolutely. I think it'll happen. You just want Chaos Sith in your party. That's why you want Gold Saucer.
I definitely don't want him or it in my party. I never did.
I never did. I'm hoping that maybe, obviously, you do get to see him for a peek in this game, but without his giant bunny suit thing that he controls, whatever that is.
Oh my God. I just want the the basketball shooting mini game, and I want the snowboarding mini game and the submarine one. That's what I want. I want to do like the free throw shooting contest with Cloud and everything.
Yes, those have to be in there. Absolutely. Yeah, Gold Saucer will be its own experience for sure, and it better be in part 2.
Better.
All right, my friend, let's go ahead and wrap this thing up. And like I said, unless you got anything else you want to throw out there.
That's all I got for now.
Good deal. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I think we've had a fun chat. Hopefully people have stuck around to the end of this thing.
Hopefully, and if they didn't, we had fun anyway.
We did, even if nobody's still listening. That was good. All right, we'll go ahead and end it. And I'm not, I put you on the spot last time, but why don't you go ahead and close it out for us proper this time?
Don't forget to get back out there and level up.